slightly in the red. The company has been bouncing back this week after a volatile period. Nvidia did get hit with a downgrade this morning from New Street Research. Analysts at the firm saying they see limited further upside and are downgrading the stock from buy to neutral. Well, Brett, everybody's trying to be a hero on Nvidia. All I know is I go back to a recent JP Morgan story, and it is very simple. Demand continues to outstrip supply for Nvidia chips, and as long as that continues to happen, there might be some volatility in the name. How do you dump this stock? I mean, they're a beast. They're on a path to potentially $10 trillion market cap.
You know, it's not a stock particularly that's just one that you talk about where it's just, okay, yeah, just trade this name. No, it is an investment decision that has now been regarded as such for a long-term kind of hold type of mindset. It's not something that you're trying to day trade at this juncture, even though it got a little bit more affordable after the stock split that took place in a couple weeks back.
Last thing you want to hear, so you call up your money manager and they tell you, hey, I hope you had a great July 4th. Yeah, I'm going to be lightening the load on Nvidia. Who the hell wants to hear that? I mean, that is the great way to lose your job and lose client money. I mean, it's tough to sell a stock that everybody is rightfully very bearish on for strong fundamental reasons. Yeah. I mean, the AI chip rollout, this is not late 90s .com stuff with companies not making any money. This is real stuff, real technology, and this company continues to be the leader by years. I mean, by years, they're leading other companies.
Well, the interesting kind of annexation, or at least .com bubble analogy that Nvidia has been drawn to time and time again now is actually Cisco. And if you go back and take a look at their stock chart, one of the things that you'll see that is quite similar here is this hockey stick type run up during the .com era, and then it had to grow into its valuation. Now, of course, it declined precipitously in the aftermath of that bubble bursting, but then eventually, over years, was able to grow into that valuation because people could see the applications and the use cases for the technology that they were bringing to the market. It's the same thing with Nvidia here. We just don't have a 1 million chip data center right now because it's not built up yet. And so that's perhaps the next part of this generative AI trade. When we talk about picks and shovels, it might literally be picks and shovels building up some of these data centers, picks and shovels putting some of the electricity in the ground or overhead or however you're building that grid out in order to make sure those data centers have the necessary utility and power that they need.
No, right on, Brad. And I think you have to be thinking about, it's not just the Nvidia trade, it's the whole ecosystem. You had a great conversation on my podcast, Opening Bid, cheap plug for myself there, with Brooke Dane, portfolio manager at Goldman Sachs Asset Management. His, I think, view was, sure, you can continue to own Nvidia, but think about some of the companies that are trying to compete with the likes of Nvidia over the next 5 to 10 years. It's a Marvell, it's a KLA, it's a Micron. None of these companies are really going to take material market share from Nvidia today, but as long as they could sell that sizzle to investors, those stocks might rise along with Nvidia.
It should come as no surprise that Nvidia is the subject of constant discussion among analysts and investors alike, given that the business is acknowledged by Wall Street as the leader of the AI revolution and one of the top performers on the stock market. The sentiment is still primarily bullish, as evidenced by the nearly daily updates to analyst price targets. You may have noticed some people argue that Nvidia's bullish run has peaked and that it's going to be downhill from here, while others see further upside potential in this stock. The recent antitrust charges in France and concerns over meeting demand also give voice to bearish analysts. In this video, we'll discuss 2 new bullish price targets for Nvidia stock, as well as why investors shouldn't be concerned about the company's recent antitrust charges. However, before we get started, if you'd like to stay up to date on the latest news on Nvidia and the stock market, you can subscribe to our channel. We post updates about the biggest shifts and market catalysts, so click the bell button to ensure you don't miss any of the newest market updates.
First half largely led higher by the AI trade. More than 2/3 of the S&P 500's gains for the year have come from names like Nvidia, Alphabet, Apple, and Microsoft. Investors want to know whether or not the AI trade, of course, is still hot on the back half of 2024 here. And for an investor's guide to the second half of the year, we're joined by Dana Doria, who is the InvestNet Co-Chief Investment Officer. Great to have you here in studio with us.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
So first, let's start there with the AI trade that has absolutely fueled so much new vigor into a theme that investors who were perhaps a little bit more passive are now becoming a little bit more active about here. How much more legs do we think the AI trade has at this juncture?
Oh, I think the AI trade has plenty to go, right? We're sort of at the beginning of this. If AI takes off in any way, in any of the ways that we expect in terms of increasing productivity, enabling companies to change the way they do business, we're going to have a huge, huge demand for AI. So we're just at the start of this. I think what's going on, of course, is that there's a lot of focus around Nvidia. And so where goes Nvidia? Folks think goes the AI trade, which is not necessarily the case, right? This thing has to.
Although many analysts predict that the AI boom will shift away from Nvidia and benefit other companies, we haven't really seen this happening outside of large caps. Nvidia has really benefited the most. In fact, the company's stock has increased by more than 150% year to date. And despite several pullbacks, it has seen Bernstein analyst Stacy Rasgon remain bullish on Nvidia, advising customers to purchase the stock. Notably, Raskin has a $130 price target on Nvidia stock, and his bullishness is particularly noteworthy because he primarily covers semiconductor companies, one of Nvidia's main rivals, AMD. However, he continues to support Nvidia, and he is not the only bullish Wall Street analyst. In fact, the most accurate analysts recently stated that they think Nvidia still has room to grow, despite the fact that it briefly overtook Apple as the most valuable company in the world. Let's hear what they had to say and what their prediction was for Nvidia's stock price. Greetings to all, and welcome back to Investing Tutorial.
Today, we've heard a lot of positive comments about Nvidia overall, even as it's been an incredible winner. It's come off those highs. At the same time, you have another antitrust headline, this one from France today. That was breaking news at the top of the show. Hasn't affected the stock really at all. Where do you think Nvidia is headed?
Well, look, I mean, Nvidia is the industry darling right now. I mean, it's out there, and anybody that's in AI and working on those production workloads I was talking about, excuse me, are using Nvidia, using those types of technologies to kind of push their production workloads forward. Yeah, there's some concerns about regulations and antitrust that's out there. I think that is part of our evolution and learning of what the impacts of AI will be on data in general. Overall, data is really where businesses are going to thrive and their applications are going to need it. And the performance of these workloads require tech.
The analysts at Truist Bank noted that Nvidia's rise to the top of the market cap rankings doesn't actually impact expected returns on investment, and they recently increased their price target on the company's Nvidia stock from $128 to $140. This price target is a little more optimistic than Stacy Rasgon's. The bank feels that the runway is just getting started for NVDA. Truist discovered that although companies' stock performance initially stagnates in comparison to the S&P 500, over time, stocks typically beat the benchmark index. As a result, analysts continue to believe that Nvidia is the best option for investing in the burgeoning artificial intelligence market, citing the chipmaker sector. While Nvidia's stock may be declining, the company has had an incredible year in 2024. In just 6 months, its market cap has increased by billions. Additionally, the company's quarterly earnings performance has been nothing short of excellent. In its April earnings report, the company handily beat revenue, net income, EPS, and guidance estimates. With all of this in mind, should investors be purchasing Nvidia shares on the dip? Let's find out. But first, thank you if you've watched this far. These videos need a lot of work and time to produce, so if you find them entertaining, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support will greatly aid in our growth.
I think in terms of frontier foundation models, China is still lagging a little bit behind, but we have to understand the data sets that can be trained in these large language models. So these Chinese companies have the unique advantages of gaining these data sets and training better models in terms of using Chinese language. So this is their competitive advantage. Yeah.
This is their competitive advantage. But, our guest previously was mentioning that the first round of AI development has been won by the U.S., hands down. And we're seeing that in the stock prices of all the AI-enabled businesses, all the businesses that are applying AI as well, including Microsoft. But he says as we progress further, China will catch up. Now, where would China develop its expertise within AI? Like, what would they be focused on to gain that edge versus the US? If the US is focusing on large language models, then what would China's edge be?
I think for the first round, if you measure the large language models per se, and also the AI chips, yes, US won for the first round. But I think the second round is more about the innovation in terms of application scenarios. And China has hugely untapped markets for consumers and also for business industrial partners to innovate and how to bring this generative AI technologies to innovate in different applications or industries with using different specialized data sets. That's the key for China to win, to really have the real world application deployments that might surpass US in this area.
Yeah, it's interesting when we talk about who's winning the race of the first round or second round, because I remember back in 2018, I went to a public bathroom in China and they were using facial recognition to dispense your toilet paper, and the police were wearing glasses to track your identification. So I mean, China has been making progress on that front, but I mean, in terms of where we're seeing some of this AI adoption now in China, where is getting a lot of attention? I mean, what is the next sort of step in terms of where we're going to see major deployment in China?
I think the first one is the consumer level chatbots, because China has its own startups and innovators such as Moonshot AI and also the EAI to innovate in that area. And the billions of users have been already using that chatbot. And also, I think robotics is the next frontier for both US and China. And China probably is, in my opinion, will be one of the best places to manufacture and develop this robotics that's embodied in the generative AI technology and be a suppliers to the global partners. So that's one of the potentials I see in China's market.
In addition to experiencing stock fluctuations over the past month, Nvidia has also seen a decline in recent trading days. Investors are currently attempting to determine whether the company's valuation has become overly optimistic or if the stock is worth what the market says it is. Some experts have speculated that the decline may be the result of AI fatigue or concerns about index concentration, which may be the case given that other AI stocks are declining. For instance, rival Dell saw a 5.2% decline, but Super Microcomputer, a vendor of servers outfitted with Nvidia's AI chips, saw an 8.7% decline. Additionally, chip designer ARM fell 5.8%, and semiconductor giants Qualcomm and Broadcom declined by 5.5% and 3.7%, respectively. These businesses had recently seen significant gains thanks to large investor bets on AI spending. But Nvidia remains our pick for one of the best AI investments available. This is because, although there are legitimate concerns about AI, skepticism about Nvidia stock seems unfounded given the company's recent earnings report, which showed record revenues and strong margin growth, underscoring the genuine excitement and investment in AI. Additionally, even though AI is currently going through a setback, it's too important a technology to continue pulling back and will probably see a recovery soon. Additionally, experts believe that there is a sizable market for AI technologies. Since many of Nvidia's customers have been waiting in line to receive these high-power computing chips required for training generative AI models, even as shipments of the new Blackwell chip pick up speed, it is anticipated that these sales will hold steady. As a result, investors should still feel comfortable purchasing Nvidia shares even after the company's massive gains and pullbacks. Its valuation was estimated to be around $200 billion in 2023 and is expected to grow well beyond that to over $1.8 trillion by 2030. Solid revenue foundation and an even stronger pipeline of upcoming AI products. But what do you think about Nvidia stock? Is it currently a wise investment? Please share your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to include your valuations of Nvidia's worth.